Korea's COVID-19 gate-related news. The Yoon Seok passion regime must thoroughly punish the person responsible for the thorough investigation of the Moon Jae-in regime's corona mask and vaccine gate. The amount of vaccine scrap is likely to reach up to 7 trillion won. After the drug distribution dinosaur Jio-young's mask special disappeared. After Jio-young, a drug distribution dinosaur, disappeared after the mask scandal special, sales took a step back for the first time in 6 years. On the other hand, despite the decline in growth, last year's operating profit improved again, reaching a record high. According to the provisional financial statements for the 2021 fiscal year of Jio-young, the main company of Jio-young's affiliated business on the 28th, sales, separate basis, last year recorded 2.45 trillion won. This is a 10.5%, 287 billion won, decrease from 2020. Sales, which have been growing every year since 2015, 1.91 trillion won, without exception, turned to a declining trend for the first time. Jio-young is a parent company co-founded by the current owner, Chairman Cho Sun-hai and Honorary Chairman Lee Hee-gu. In terms of business, it is a business holding company of the Jio-young family that focuses on drug distribution and logistics. With the pure holding company Cho Sun-hai GY Holdings as its peak, Jio-young covers 38 distribution affiliates nationwide. As a whole, the company supplies medicines to over 60% of 50 large hospitals and 23,000 pharmacies nationwide. The negative growth of Jio-young for the first time in 6 years is believed to be due to the base effect caused by the special mask crisis triggered by Corona-19 in February 2020. When the government implemented the 5-mask system for about 5 months, Jio-young was one of the 2 companies that gave the exclusive right to supply public masks to pharmacies, which occupied about 70%. The government arbitrarily extended the distribution period of the infant vaccine, the 5 to 11-year-old vaccine, extended the validity period of April to July 3 days before the inoculation. Why was it rushed? It has been confirmed that the quarantine authorities have extended the validity period of 300,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine for children aged 5 to 11, which was scheduled to expire on the 30th, by 3 months. There are precedents for extending the validity of the vaccine, but this extension of the validity of the vaccine for children is unusual in that it was decided close to the start date of vaccination. Although the extension of the expiration date does not affect the efficacy and safety of the vaccine, it shows that the schedule for pediatric vaccination and securing of supplies did not proceed smoothly. According to the coverage of the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, KCDC, and the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety on the 10th, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, MFDS, changed the validity period of 300,000 doses of Comirnaty, a pediatric vaccine, from 6 months to 9 months on March 28. The expiration date of the validity period has been changed from April 30 to July 31. The validity period was extended 3 days before March 31, the start date of vaccination for children. This is not the first time that the validity of a vaccine has been extended. The Ministry of Food and Drug Safety also extended the validity of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines in October of last year and March of this year. Pfizer's pediatric vaccine has already been used in the United States and the United Kingdom by extending the validity period from 6 months to 9 months since the end of last year. The quarantine authorities and many experts explain that extension of the validity period and the efficacy and safety of vaccines are irrelevant. However, the extension of the validity period of the vaccine for children is different from previous cases in that the decision was made close to the start date of vaccination. The pediatric vaccine is still being distributed to inoculation institutions with the expiration date of April 2022 stamped on the vial. In addition, Pfizer's 12-year-old vaccine, which has the same active ingredient as the pediatric vaccine, but differs only in usage and dosage, is still valid for 6 months. It is said that there is a circumstance that only pediatric vaccines had to extend the expiration date. First of all, if the expiration date of the existing expiration date, April 30th, is followed, the schedule for vaccination becomes tight. The first 300,000 doses had to be exhausted within about 1 month from March 31, the start date of inoculation. Also, since the interval between the first and second inoculations is 8 weeks, the validity period of the first dose had already expired at the end of May, when the second inoculation started, so it could not be used. In the first place, there was a problem with the introduction of a vaccine with a short expiration date. Expectations for inoculation rates were not high either. Since the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety approved the vaccine for children on February 23, it was pointed out that the establishment of the vaccination plan was already late. In fact, as of midnight on that day, 51,542 out of 3,147,942 subjects, an increase of about 3,000 over the past 10 days from 48,569 on the first 33,108 people were vaccinated, and the inoculation rate was 1.1%. This is because the Omicron mutation spread rapidly from the beginning of February, and the number of infected people increased significantly. In particular, the incidence rate per 100,000 population is the highest among all age groups between 0 and 9 years of age. As of midnight on that day, there were 5,655 people, and 1 in 2 had been infected. The quarantine authorities explained that the validity period was extended in accordance with the general procedure. An official from the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety said, for drugs that need to be used immediately, approval is granted based on data from stability tests accumulated up to the time of approval. It was extended by submitting data for 9 months. Pfizer vaccine 2.06 million doses, arrived today, this year. A total of 160.44 million doses can be mass discarded, up to 7 trillion won. While Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are being scrapped, contracts for 10 million unapproved SK Bio vaccines suspected of being directed by Moon Jae-in. 2,064,000 doses of Covid-19 vaccine individually contracted with the government are scheduled to arrive in Korea on the 7th. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, KCDC, 2,064,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine, individually contracted on April 7, will be introduced to Incheon International Airport by flight at around 4:35 p.m. through the vaccine introduction status and plan on the same day. With this additional introduction, the number of Covid-19 vaccines supplied to Korea in 2022 is a total of 17.02 million doses as of April 7. From April 8 to the end of 2022, the remaining amount of the Covid-19 vaccine to be introduced is a total of 143.42 million doses. The government secured a total of 160.44 million doses of the Covid-19 vaccine in 2022, including 10 million doses of the unapproved SK Bioscience vaccine developed in Korea. There was a controversy over the lack of a Covid-19 vaccine, but now it remains and is discarded. At the beginning of last year, there were many voices criticizing the government for failing to properly secure a vaccine for Covid-19, but now the limited period has expired, and a survey result showed that there is a considerable amount to be disposed of. This means that there is a greater likelihood that the precious national tax will be wasted. Rep. Shin Hyun-young of the Democratic Party announced on the 12th that as a result of analyzing the Covid-19 vaccine remaining expiration date data submitted by the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a total of 11.81 million doses were confirmed to expire by August. Specifically, 113,000 doses in April, 44,000 doses in May, 1.22 million doses in June, 6.91 million doses in July, and 3.52 million doses in August will expire. By vaccine type, Pfizer's 7.116,000 doses, Moderna's 3469,000 doses, and Novavax's 1.22 million doses are expected to expire by August. What should be done about the Covid-19 vaccine on the eve of mass disposal? The 11.81 million doses of the Covid-19 vaccine expire in August. If it is not used up by the expiration date, it is unavoidable to dispose of it. Experts say that it is better to discard the vaccine than not to be vaccinated due to a lack of vaccine. The cumulative amount of waste from the start of the Covid-19 vaccine until recently was 2,915,520, of which 2,885,243 were the reason for discarding due to the passing of the expiration date. It is believed that various influences such as easing of quarantine measures, abolition of quarantine pass, concerns about vaccine side effects, perception that Omicron mutation is relatively mild, and perception that it is ineffective due to a high breakthrough infection rate are believed to have contributed to the risk of dismantling tens of millions of doses. The quarantine authorities are in the position of establishing and reviewing a vaccination plan in preparation for the possibility of a re-emergence of Covid-19 in the fall and winter. In a regular briefing on the 5th, the Central Quarantine Countermeasures Headquarters said, the effect of the vaccine is maintained until now, but there is a possibility that it may be weakened, and an epidemic may occur again in the fall due to seasonal influences. Vaccination is always necessary. In addition to the fourth vaccination, we are reviewing the vaccination plan in preparation for the possibility of a resurgence in the fall and winter. However, as the number of vaccinations decreased and more vaccines were discarded, the quarantine authorities decided not to introduce the 17.48 million doses of the vaccine, which were expected to be additionally imported this year from the International Vaccine Supply Project COVAX facility. A total of 150.44 million vaccines were scheduled to arrive by the end of this year. The expert said, now that the placenta is all over, should I get vaccinated? When you said that the fourth vaccination was also given to people living in nursing hospitals, facilities, and workers, would there have been time to vaccinate because there was already a mass outbreak and a series of serious patients and deaths? It was also a missed timing. The future is more of a problem, he said. In the past, they did not purchase the vaccine in advance and were hit, but now the vaccine is full and overflowing. Thank you for watching today. Please like and subscribe.